If you haven't heard of Caitlin Clark, then chances are you are living in another universe, because the 22-year-old is the hottest name right now in women's basketball. And for many reasons, she is one of the best players and arguably the main reason more people are currently lining up to watch the WNBA. But it also means that she is the constant target of endless hate. Maybe hate is a strong word, but the point is that other players will like to get under her skin in any way possible by trash talking. But most times, they found out the harsh way that you don't do that to a talented player if you don't back it up on the court. Clark has been dealing with trash talk long before she even set foot in the WNBA, and let's just say, trying to rattle her might not be the genius move some think it is. Now, sports fans are a passionate bunch. They love to throw shade, especially in those electric sections where the energy is unmatched. It's all part of what makes sports so fun to watch. But sometimes that fiery enthusiasm can backfire in spectacular fashion. At college, when Clark and her Iowa Hawkeyes rolled into Hilton Coliseum to face off against the Iowa State Cyclones, the student section thought they had the perfect plan to get inside Clark's head. But here's the thing, this wasn't Clark's first rodeo. She's been through it all before, and she's always ready to silence the haters. Flashback to her high school days at Dowling Catholic High School. Same scenario, different crowd. The fans there also tried to rattle her by chanting, "Overrated." Clark's response was dropping a casual 42 points on them. This time, she dropped 35 points and snatched the win. Clark isn't just a trash talk magnet, and one player in particular who attracted it is Angel Reese. These two have gone from dominating women's college basketball to lighting up the WNBA, with their competitive fire only growing hotter. Don't get me wrong, Clark is no saint. She can also trash talk. But she has the performance to back it all up most of the time, and entering pro basketball, she was always going to get the spotlight. So Reese wasn't going to let it be a one-man show, or a one-woman show in this case. And it all started a year ago in college. Clark was on fire in the 2023 NCAA season, dropping almost 28 points per game during the regular season. When the playoffs hit, she didn't slow down, racking up 26 points in the first round, 22 in the second, and a sizzling 31 in the Sweet 16. But it wasn't just her scoring that had everyone buzzing. It was her epic showdown with Reese during the national championship game. Reese's LSU Tigers snatched their first ever national title from Clark and the Hawkeyes in a game that pulled in a massive 9.9 million viewers, peaking at 12.6 million. And trust me, every single one of those viewers saw the intensity between these two. In the NCAA final, LSU was cruising to victory, and Reese couldn't resist throwing a little shade. She hit Clark with the "you can't see me" move, and then topped it off by tapping her ring finger, signaling that the championship was hers. Reese commented after the game that she was caught up in the moment.
At what point were you waiting to pull out this kind of the Caitlin?
I don't take disrespect lightly, and she disrespected Alexis. I wanted to pick her pocket, but I had a moment at the end of the game, and I was in my bag. I was in my moment. Yeah.
Both of these young stars were killing it in March Madness. Reese, at just 20 years old, was named the tournament's most outstanding player, while 21-year-old Clark, who had already bagged the 2023 Player of the Year award for multiple associations, was breaking records left and right. Clark finished the tournament with a jaw-dropping 191 points, the most ever scored by any player, male or female, in a single NCAA tournament. Clark had used the same "you can't see me" gesture 2 games earlier when Iowa knocked Louisville out of the tournament and punched their ticket to the Final Four. And instead of criticism, Clark was showered with praise. Even John Cena himself gave her a shout out on social media saying, "Even if they could see you, they couldn't guard you." When Reese fired back with the same move, the reaction was completely different. A lot of people, including professional athletes, took to Twitter to call it the blatant double standard, pointing out the criticism that Reese faced was rooted in racial bias. Let's not forget what went down in the Elite Eight matchup against Louisville. Clark was on fire, nailing 8 three-pointers and racking up 30 points and 8 assists. She even set a new record in that title game, becoming the first ever player in Division I history, man or woman, to drop over 900 points and dish out 300 assists in a single season. So, when Clark was picked number 1 overall in the 2024 WNBA draft by the Indiana Fever, she didn't just get a new jersey. She got a big, bright target on her back. And if anyone thought her fierce rivalry with Reese would stay in the college ranks, they were wrong. Clark and Reese brought their heated competition right into the pros, and their first matchup was a perfect example. In a nail-biter that had fans on the edge of their seats, Clark's Indiana Fever squeezed out a 71-70 victory over the Chicago Sky. It wasn't a perfect game for Clark. Her usual sharpshooting was a bit off, as she only scored 11 points, down from her season average of almost 18 points. But hey, when you're up against the Sky's relentless defense and it all comes down to a missed free throw, a win is a win. Clark might not have her scoring average, but she was all over the court, winning 8 rebounds and dishing out 6 assists. She joined New York Liberty's Sabrina Ionescu as the only WNBA players to rack up at least 150 points, 50 rebounds, and 50 assists in their first 10 career games. But that wasn't even the major reason the game came into the spotlight. Late in the third quarter, Carter hit a jumper that brought the Sky within 4 points. What happened next wasn't exactly in the spirit of good sportsmanship. As Indiana prepared to inbound the ball, Carter rammed her shoulder into Clark, sending the rookie star crashing to the floor. Replays even caught Carter mouthing what looked like a choice expletive right before the impact. Unsurprisingly, the crowd wasn't happy, and neither was Clark, who called it out for what it was. That's just not a basketball play. A dead ball foul was called, but it added another layer of intensity to an already fierce matchup. Sure, Clark talks her fair share of trash, but this was something else. The Fever's attendance through a few home games in 2024 already blew past their entire home attendance for 2023. People are showing up to watch this new sensation, and the Fever's front office probably couldn't be happier. But no one wants to see her getting roughed up like that. What even made this more interesting was sitting on the Chicago bench and cheering on Carter's rough play was none other than Angel Reese, who had also hit Clark with an elbow during the game. If you recall, Reese and Clark have a history dating back to their college days, and this moment just added fuel to the fire. Reese's teammate Carter, however, wasn't interested in talking about it, brushing off reporters with, "I ain't answering no Caitlin Clark questions." Was Carter acting out because of some trash talk earlier in the game? Clark had been seen jawing at Carter during a previous possession. Or was there something deeper going on? Could it be that Carter's frustration was more about the broader narrative in the league, where players like Clark get all the hype while others feel overlooked? But here's the thing. Clark didn't just stroll into the WNBA. She stormed in, becoming the face of the league almost overnight. She's been averaging almost 18 points per game, which for a rookie is pretty impressive. But maybe it's because she is constantly in the headlines, even though the Fever was sitting at 2-8 by the end of May. But it's not all the points. Clark has that magnetic quality that draws fans in, much like she did back in Iowa, where she became a beloved figure. She shattered records, packed arenas, and even helped the women's national championship game outdraw the men's in TV viewership. It's no wonder the WNBA is banking on her star power to elevate the league's profile. However, there's a flip side to this. Since its inception in 1996, the WNBA has often been criticized for prioritizing the marketing of white players over their black counterparts. Just look at the league's recent ad campaigns, or how stars like Sabrina Ionescu, Kelsey Plum, and Breanna Stewart receive more spotlight compared to the likes of Asia Wilson, Jonquel Jones, or Kalia Copper. And with over 63% of the league's players identifying as black in 2023, this imbalance is hard to ignore. Clark didn't ask for any of this. She's just playing the game and doing it well. But the reality is, her presence shines a light on the racial dynamics that still linger in the league. Yet, you can't help but wonder how other players, especially black players who have been grinding for years, feel about all the attention Clark is getting. The WNBA needs Clark's star power, no doubt about it. But the true test of the Caitlin Clark effect will be whether it brings more eyes to the entire league, not just to her. Will fans start paying attention to the other teams and players, or will Clark remain the sole focus? Only time will tell if her rising star can elevate the entire WNBA. But one thing we do know is that Clark wasn't about to let a little physicality slow her down, especially not against the Chicago Sky. In her second showdown against them, the rookie sensation showed exactly why she was the #1 pick in the 2024 WNBA draft. Clark delivered a stellar performance, putting up 23 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds, all while leading the Indiana Fever to a solid 91-83 victory. This was one of Clark's best games yet as a pro. She was practically on fire, sinking 7 of her 11 shots and nailing 3 three-pointers. It wasn't just about the stats, though. They celebrated the first back-to-back wins of Clark's WNBA career, giving the Fever a 2-0 lead over the Sky in their season series. It just seems to happen because their first meeting resulted in the first home win for Indiana. The Sky had managed to snag a win in their last meeting, bringing the head-to-head to 2-1. But Clark, with her smooth shooting and clutch plays, made sure Indiana stayed on top this time. But it's not just Reese and the Sky that had a taste of what trash-talking Clark can lead to. Clark was on a mission when the Phoenix Mercury was in her crosshairs. The Mercury, led by WNBA legend Diana Taurasi, weren't exactly buying into Clark's hype. The Indiana Fever were playing their first game of the second half of the 2024 WNBA season, and Clark wasted no time stealing the spotlight. This was their third matchup of the season, and each one had been a battle. In the first clash back in late June, Clark nearly notched a triple-double, finishing with 15 points, 12 assists, and 9 rebounds. Sure, it wasn't her best shooting night. She hit just 4 of 14 from the field and 2 of 10 from beyond the arc, but she made it clear to Taurasi that she was here to compete. The Fever pulled off a 6-point win. By their second meeting in July, Clark had found a rhythm, dropping 20 points in a more comfortable 95-86 victory for Indiana. But it was their most recent encounter where Clark truly went off. Clark has started to hit her stride in the league, and it showed against the Mercury. She was on fire, shooting 50% from the field and 36.4% from deep, racking up 29 points, 5 rebounds, and 10 assists. She looked more at ease with her game, protecting the ball better and finding her shot with confidence. Her three-point shooting still has room for improvement. She's sitting at 32.9% on 8.4 attempts per game. But if she sharpens that up, she'll be even more lethal. After Indiana secured a 98-89 win, a short video surfaced that added a little spice to the post-game chatter. The clip showed Clark ignoring some trash talk from none other than Taurasi. But in true Clark fashion, she didn't stay quiet for long, dropping what appeared to be a response, "I don't give a f***." Just a day after that heated game, the Indiana Fever found themselves up against the Seattle Storm. And guess who stirred up some drama again? Yup, Clark. She was doing what she does best, firing up the crowd, this time right in front of the Storm's bench. With just a few minutes left in the game, Skylar Diggins-Smith decided to get a little too close for comfort, nudging Clark as she walked by. Now, whether that bump was intentional or just an accident is still up for debate, but fans didn't waste any time jumping to Clark's defense, blasting Smith for the contact. But not everyone thinks Clark is as soft as some might assume. In fact, a veteran in the media scene suggested that Clark's got a competitive edge of her own. And she showed it that night, dropping 25 points on 47.4% shooting in a smooth 92-75 win over the Storm. So, will Clark start openly engaging in some on-court feuds in the WNBA? It's hard to say. For now, she's been steering clear of major controversies with great performances. But who knows what it'll take to push her buttons as the season heats up. One thing's for sure, Clark's got her sights set on the playoffs. And if it means she has to get a little tougher with her opponents, she might just do it.